parade. Free Katen Rear supporters protesting against Norfolk District Attorney Michael Morrissey as he holds a fundraising event at a banquet hall in Quincy. Protesters booing as cars file in, calling for Morrissey to step down and alleging corruption.
He needs to go. He needs to go.
We need justice. We got to find out the truth. What is he hiding?
Norfolk County District Attorney Michael Morrissey's hot water keeps getting hotter. And to be fair here, he's made his own bed. And the lack of accountability is an insult to everyone, including the citizens in Norfolk. But he has some options here, and there is a silver lining to this mess. So welcome to The Point. Let's get to it.
Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Isn't Morrissey the walking, talking embodiment of hubris as defined by Aristotle?
This will be the first statement of its kind in my dozen years as Norfolk District Attorney. The harassment of witnesses and the prosecution of Katen Rear is absolutely baseless.
You have these letters to the feds. Him backing up Proctor, which we all know how that turned out.
Yeah, I think I've been very clear, and I want to remain very clear. Misconduct in any way, shape, or form of the Massachusetts State Police will not be tolerated. I think I've said that I condemn those comments in the strongest terms possible. They are not reflective of the Massachusetts State Police. That's not where we want to be as an organization. And I believe that we will certainly continue to monitor that and as we are moving through the process of our internal affairs investigation.
His bonehead statements that even Judge Bev said crossed the line.
Innuendo is not evidence. False narratives are not evidence. However, what evidence does show is that John O'Keefe never entered the home at 34 Fairview Road in Canton. 11 people have given statements. There was no fight inside that home. This is a false narrative. We try people in the court and not on the internet for a reason. The internet has no rules of evidence. The internet has no punishment for perjury. And the internet does not know all the facts.
And him continuing to back these completely absurd charges against Katen Rear.
This is a false narrative.
This case was clearly not ready for trial, and people wonder why I question things.
It should be an outrage to any decent person.
People wonder why I don't back the blue. Leave the stupid politics out of it, and you tell me what's wrong with wanting accountability.
It should be an outrage.
Why is it wrong to have expectations? I mean, if a soldier deploys overseas and accidentally passes somebody away, he's toast. But if law enforcement does something stupid, they have the mighty union to back them up. I honestly need somebody to make that make sense.
It should be an outrage to any decent person.
Because all this incompetence is making my head spin. And it should be more than enough to make everybody sick. You even have people asking Massachusetts governor to overhaul the state police. And it's not a shock to me, and you can tell me if it's a shock to you, but the silence is deafening here. So no wonder people are saying stuff like this.
What District Attorney Michael Morrissey does is when a case comes across his desk that involves police officers, he sweeps it under the rug.
But despite the vandalism, the arguing, and the finger pointing, we do have a silver lining here, and Morrissey has options. And if more fair coverage and an open conversation is something you prefer, subscribe to this channel and hit that like button down below. Because the silver lining is this. Of course, Katen Rear's story has gotten a whole lot of attention. And the spotlight on this case has caused a light to be shined into what happened to Sandra Birchmore. I would guess somewhere around 95% of the people following Katen Rear's story now know about her. And in no way, shape, or form do I believe she passed herself away in the manner they were trying to say she did.
False narratives are not evidence.
And I did a video on her, and I'll link that down in the comments below. Because that poor soul deserves justice just as much as John O'Keefe. And if everybody would just stop fighting with each other and focus on the real problem, we would have a real opportunity to have change. My Lord, we could get some accountability. And speaking of accountability, what are Morrissey's options here? Because clearly staying in office and pursuing these charges are causing unrest. Obviously, retiring early and not seeking re-election while dismissing these charges would be the absolute best case scenario. Those actions alone would go a long way in restoring the public's faith. And if you know of a better option while I list mine, let me know down in the comments below, because that's how an open conversation works. But let's say he really doesn't want to give up his seat and he doesn't want to retire. What else could he do? Well, what about conflicting this case out of Norfolk? The storylines around Norfolk and Canton remind me of Moscow, Idaho, where it seems that everyone has some sort of tie or relationship to someone else within that community. And for the most part, every single one of those protests has been peaceful, and I have a great deal of respect for those citizens. But my lord, it doesn't take a genius to realize that this situation's a powder keg, and the slightest spark from one side or the other is going to cause this whole thing to get out of control. So move it out and let somebody impartial handle this. A third option, if they don't want to drop at least some of these charges and move it out of Norfolk, is to openly and publicly call for an independent third party to do a complete, open, and transparent investigation into MSP and all local law enforcement agencies. I mean, these positions are taxpayer funded, so let's weed out this incompetence and this corruption. It is not wrong to suggest that law enforcement and these prosecutors work for us. And if you feel the same, let me know, because I'm getting sick of this idea that it is somehow anti-American to question law enforcement. My lord, questioning and examining absolutely everything is the most American thing you can do. It isn't wrong to speak out. It isn't wrong to question. It isn't wrong to ask for accountability. So what is with all these sheep walking around right now?
It should be an outrage to any decent person.
If Morrissey is primarily worried about his reputation or his standing in that community, he's clearly not the right person for the job. Now, I'm not saying he said that, I'm just speculating here, and I encourage everybody to do their own research and form their own opinion. But justice is blind at the end of the day, and thank God for that, because if she could see what's going on right now, she would absolutely be heartbroken. Our system only works if we have faith in it, and Morrissey has a real legitimate opportunity to extend an olive branch. We still don't know what the FBI is looking into, and if you know, let me know down in the comments below. Y'all be safe now.